Welcome to the hip hop talk show, Temple Tactics. I invite you to travel with me into hip hop culture. Together, we will journey into local hip hop communities, speak with artists, examine hip hop's history, and explore hip hop's elements. So kick back, let's enter the temple. All right, episode 7, Temple Tactics. We have right next to us Viva Mescal, straight out of East LA, man. Thank you for coming. I appreciate this. Man, when I first had the idea for Temple Tactics, you were the first person on my list. You and Gio, who was actually part of episode 2. So I've been hitting at you, been consistent. And he's here today, man. Come on, we're going to get deep with this one. So let's just start, bro. If I'm not mistaken, you're a first generation Mexican straight out of, you're first generation Mexican. Your parents migrated from Mexico. You're firstborn out here. And
wow, let me make a correction. Please. My mom's from Mexico. She came over when she was like 6 years old. My dad was born here, and he was born in Boyle Heights, White Memorial Hospital, one of the First Street Elementary at Hollenbach, Roosevelt. Pretty much same as me. Like, he's a child of Boyle Heights. You know what I mean? And then I'm his firstborn son. So like, even growing up in the hood, like people knew my dad and stuff. So it's funny, like, but yeah. Essentially through my mom, I'm first generation, second generation, however you want to chop it up. If my dad was second, maybe I'm third, call it 2.5. I don't know the point system, but the lineage is right there. You know what I mean?
But nonetheless, so how does someone like you from family from Mexico, Roosevelt High School grad, founder of EOTR, East of the River, how does someone like you becoming so deeply involved with hip hop?
It was always there, like growing up. My uncle was a DJ. Like, I didn't really get to catch him doing too much of like parties or anything like that. I was still very young, but I saw his records, I saw his music collection, and it was vast from like underground hip hop stuff, or mainstream hip hop, but like more the raw stuff. He was a huge like Eazy-E fan, and then like he even like southern rap, like True and like Master P, and then he liked all the East Coast stuff, Wu-Tang. So it was just like my uncle was just like a hip hop head, but then he liked metal and like he dressed all black. He's like a rocker fool, so. He was a big influence on me. My uncle Dofies, who passed away, like in 2013. So R.I.P. to him. He was one of my early influences. So, I was exposed to hip hop early, man. I can't act like it was so foreign. Obviously, like growing up in East Los and in Boyle Heights, like the number one music is like Spanish music, like rancheras and like Vicente Fernandez and like all kinds of, you have salsa and you have the party music. And then my older uncles, they liked house music and like this like house party style and all that deep house. Boom, 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 boom. Like, what the fuck is this? And I trip out on all that because I'm like, man, it didn't even have lyrics, but it was so popular. And you think about this generation of Chicanos coming up trying to find their identity. Their parents probably didn't even want them to listen to anything in English. So they went and found a music without any lyrics that just made you dance. And imagine the Mexican parents like, look at these fools, like, and they're right there break dancing and doing all this shit. And it's like, I see it now, like removed from it now getting older, but I saw that at parties. I saw like influenced by all that coming up, so it all led me ultimately to hip hop and to writing and to being like a songwriter or lyricist. Like, that's ultimately what I consider myself, and what I find the most joy in doing.
Yo, that's real. Shout out to your uncle, bro. Shout out to your uncle. Hey, so when I was first introduced to you through my homeboy Manuel, shout out to Manuel, your name, Viva Mescal, and I guess people can't help but think about liquor right away, right? So how did that name come about, brother?
So my first rap name was Mescalito, and that's like the moniker I took on to release all my early music. So it was Mescalito, and like Delinquent Habits has a song called Mescalito. But the first time I ever heard it was through this writer called Hunter S. Thompson. And this is the fool from Fear and Loathing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he has a short story he wrote pardon my language, pardon my French.
No, please go with it.
Called First Visit with Mescalito. And he takes mescaline, which is the synthetic version of peyote, which comes from a cactus in Mexico. And so like the rabbit hole goes deeper and deeper. So I was just like, man, that's fucking badass, you know, like that's me. So when I really found out what it's all about, when you take peyote, there's actually a spirit guide called Mescalito. And he messes with you, or he can help you out, but he's like a mischievous god, like the god of mischief type shit. And so when I heard all that, I was like, man, that's me. I'm Mescalito, you know. And I ran with it for years. And then maybe about 4 years ago, bro, like maybe right when I dropped Peyote Cactus and Long Live the Peyote, you know, for people who know my music, like that's when I came up with, all right, I'm gonna change it to Viva Mescal, you know, like I'm gonna take out Mescalito because there's like a DJ, there's like a rocker, like a country music star, and he's called Mescalito. Like the rabbit hole goes deep. The rabbit hole goes, so I had all these like name problems, and I was like, you know what? Viva Mescal, like people could think of it as the tequila, agave, whatever you want. That's cool if it opens it up for you, but it goes deeper than that. But you know, I just ran with it. I remember not even think about it. I was like, I'm gonna throw a Viva in front of it, take the ITO out. What do you think, Mud? So I like it. Cool, that's my new name. Dropping an album. And then like, if you believe it, people will believe it, and it's just, people are just like, what up? And what up, Viva? And then these people just laugh. People ain't gonna call you that. Sounds ridiculous. And everyone's like, hey, Viva, hey, Viva. I'm just like, that doesn't even affect me. I'm like, don't even still sounds like from Mescalito to that. It's still a trip, but you know, that's the lineage of the whole name.
Oh, that's nice.
You heard it here. That's the whole name. If anyone ever asks you, that's the full story.
Episode 7, he breaks it down for us. Yo, that's dope. I like that story. That's very interesting. Yo, in 2019, you dropped the Freeway Dreams EP. And if I'm not mistaken, please correct me if I'm wrong, you that musical creation because you had a dream that you were in a crash on the freeway on the East Low side of town. Is that true?
You know what's crazy about that story is it's not a dream. I actually was in a crazy wreck.
Clarify it for us. That's a good EP. Yo, I love the way you open it. Come on, Freeway Dreams EP. Get it.
Crazy one. That's a crazy one. I just kind of turned it to a dream for the sake of the music, but that's a true story in that sense where we were in a crazy wreck.
Talk to us.
You know, being young, being dumb, and my homies driving, going crazy, speeding on the freeway, loses control. We flip over. We must have flipped like 3 times, land on our side, and walk away unscathed, and got away. Like our other friends saw, picked us up. We just,
because they were telling behind you?
yeah, well, they're like, bro, we picked you up thinking we were gonna find you guys, like, whoa. But anyway, that was like a crazy story, like, damn it. And so I almost like relived it a bit in the Freeway Dreams of making that into this crazy dream that I had. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what I was thinking when I made that one. That was just
no, bro.
It felt cool at the time.
People are out there listening, G. Obviously, come on.
You know, people reached out and would be like, hey, I was in a bad wreck. Like, how would that come up? And I told them, you know, I'll tell them this story. Like, no, that actually, I was in one where we flipped over a few times and we walked away. I still trip out on that one. Like, how the hell did that one happen? But
and look what you did. You
Lord willing, you know, like
drop an album. Only some of that stuff. When you know what I'm saying, you dropped an album out based off that. That's real MCing, right? Let's go to another one, bro. For a few years, you've been orchestrating the Showcase Lighter Fluid. You've already had your 4th one, if I'm not mistaken. 5th, my bad, excuse me. But then it also culminated to your first annual conference, right? Okay, so what provoked that to bring together these artists and not only just do lighter fluid, but then flip it to a conference?
Right. Man, I mean, it's always like a demand or like a void that's missing, right? Like in anything else I did, even with East of the River, like there was no genius behind just seeing that there needed to be an outlet for these talented people, for this voice, for this energy to be released, you know what I mean? So it's the same thing with this. Like, I feel the need for people, they want knowledge, underground MCs, artists, entrepreneurs in general. Like, fools are still trying to apply things that barely worked in 2010. It's 2023. I don't know where fools are in their head sometimes, you know? Like, and that's not a diss, that's just, I see it, you know? Like we laugh because it's true. It's like, man, right? Like, yeah, you're still trying to apply this old method. Like, it just don't work that way no more. Like, not that anyone got all the answers, but I'm sure if we all came together humbly and just sought that, like seeking that answer, we'll find it, bro. We'll find it. And for us being, you know, Mexican American, Chicano, Raza, you know, Latin American, Latino, however you want to chop it up, we're an untapped, you know, source and an unheard voice. Like, people want to be heard, you know, and I just want to put a mic to their face, you know, and if it takes me, I'm not the perfect specimen, and I'm not the, you know, I may not even be that thing, you know, like, but I'm sure we're gonna find the right voice to amplify, and like, that's what the conference is about. And, you know, I'll always still shine in my way and do my thing and lead in my way, you know, and that's all it is. Like, I know we can do it, and we're gonna even do it even bigger, you know, we're gonna even do it bigger next time. So
That's about my next question. Is like, yo, you already looking out for the next one?
oh yeah, it's not annual. We're doing the next one. Lighter Fluid 6 will be in a couple months, and we're doing a conference again, and we're gonna go even bigger this time. So check that out.
Yeah.
Stay on, you know, Lighter Fluid LA on IG, and keep up with all of it. It's gonna be crazy.
Yo, this man's doing stuff. We have about a little halfway through this video, but you're gonna hear, he's gonna tell you everything.
Thank you, man.
Let's get to that next one. And so in today's streaming universe, we have Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. I mean, you can access anything at the drop of a dime. When you were rolling up here, or maybe when you're at home in the car in the whip, what do you bump?
Shit, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, right now, like, the homies at Altons dropped some really good music. I've been bumping that new Merce since the start of the weekend. He dropped a really good project. He gave us a shout out too, so shameless plug right there. Shout out to Merce. Man, and then yeah, I bump a lot of like instrumentals. I love just listening to classic beats. I listen to a lot of Madlib beats. And then yeah, man, it just depends on the mood. I'm still a sucker for the stuff I love, like my classic stuff, you know, whether I'm in like a Wu-Tang mood or I'm in like you know, I'm always like in a little Tupac mood from time to time. I just can't resist, you know, like throw on a classic Pac album like Thug Life or something and just vibe out. But yeah, like a lot of the new stuff, it kind of has to find me. People have to tell me, and if not, you know, I pretty much will miss it unless it's real good, you know. But like, yeah, on the ride over, probably what was I bumping right now? Shit, I was probably just listening to some NPR or something right now. Like a nerd.
Okay, yeah. NPR is important, man. Come on. Yo, currently you have a video out. You were actually talking about it, Peyote Cactus, right? You have that track out. That's a slamming track. The video's dope. Shout out to Mudds with it. You know what I'm saying, right? Did he do that video?
Right, yep, him and the homie Drip Drizza. The homie Drip Drizza, shouts out to him. He pretty much did most of the heavy lifting. Mudds was a part of the filming team, but I think Drip gets lost in the mix sometimes. But shouts out to him. Thanks for asking, because he was a big part of that music video.
Basically, the question was, Felipe Esparza's up in that joint. What's your connection to the comedian?
My mom grew up in the projects with him, in the 4th Street projects in Boyle Heights. So, and my uncle, who was from that hood, used to take care of Felipe when he was coming up. So my uncle would watch his back, and like, you know, everyone kind of knew my Uncle Dopey's the same one who put me onto music and stuff. So yeah, that's how I know Felipe. Funny story with that, with the Peyote Cactus, and with Felipe too, is that one of my other uncles, he knew Felipe too growing up. So when I first started rapping, my uncle was all excited, and he had his own ulterior motives of why he wanted to push my music, but he was pushing my music. So I had like a little band promotion from my uncle. So he hits up Felipe and he shows him some of my music, and Felipe tells him, "Oh, he's cool, bro, but like, let me know when he gets better." And so my uncle's like, "Oh, this guy, you know, like," and you know, my uncle kind of gets mad or whatever, butthurt, and I'm like, "Nah, man, like, he's keeping it real. Like, I do got to get better. Like, the quality needs to get better. The sound, I had only been rapping for like maybe about a year or so, you know, it's still pretty raw." And so I just took it, you know, as like a way to improve. And full circle, you know, couple years down the line, Felipe ends up becoming a fan of my music, you know, and bumps my newer stuff, and he shows a lot of love, you know, so it's a trip. And that's why I reached out to him for that video with Peyote Cactus.
Man, we have a friend that loves comedy. He watches comedy like people watch videos. So he was like, yeah, he watched your video. He's like, oh, yo, that's Felipe. You gotta watch this comedian. He's hilarious. So
shout out to Felipe, man. Shout out to Felipe.
Man, he's on Netflix right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, he's on Netflix. I know he's working on a new special, and he's always touring, and he still shows love, you know. Anytime we reach out or anything, he always just has our back, you know. So shouts out to Felipe for sure.
And y'all both Roosevelt High School graduates, huh?
I don't know if that fool graduated. Did he graduate?
He's on the list when I...
Nah, I'm pretty sure he did, yeah. That's not really saying much for either one of us, but yeah, that's good. I'm just playing Roosevelt. I'm just playing, see? I'm like a little comedian too, don't worry.
I hear that. Come on. Hey, yo, so since the pandemic broke out, you know, which was years ago, we all got locked down. You noticed MCs started working out like crazy, watching their health. But yo, you picked up golf. You know what I'm saying? Oh, so what's up with that? You know, you started Golf Locals as well. What can you tell us about that? And how did you decide to pick up some clubs?
Man, I see that was like a crazy lead in. But I got to give it all to Hollow Visions right here, because he's the one who put the clubs in my hand. And he took me out for my first round of golf with him and his uncle. And I fell in love with the sport, dude. And it just so happened that when I played golf, then the pandemic happened. And some people think, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but that maybe it was all because people wanted to play more golf, so they shut down the whole, I don't know, I'm not. But I fell into it because, yeah, I got the bug, and I just love playing golf, so. Yeah, man, I try to advocate for like more people like us to be out there. Not that we're not out there, because we see a lot of Theos out there and a lot of like Latinos out there playing golf, you know. Maybe we're just not highlighted as much, but you know, it's a dope sport, bro. And without telling anyone who kind of like laughs, like people like, oh, you been playing golf, I'm like, you know, it's a dope way to network too. Like, it's a dope way to kind of get out of your element, out of the hood a bit, and go and you got, you know, courses around, and you know, go chop it up and you know, meet some people, and you never know who you might meet on a golf course. It's kind of a trip, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man. Respect to that game.
You ever play?
No, but not a fan. Me and my brother-in-law went to your tournament that you had.
Oh yeah, that's right, man.
And we were like, yo, I don't, but I was like, yo, I know you like it, so come on, let's go. And that's when I was hearing that term Golf Locals. I said, that's pretty hot, bro. So that's the question.
Right, wow. And Golf Locals, we're actually that's a TV show as well, like a YouTube show as well. Me and Mudge have shot a few episodes. Hollow's been a guest, Local Black has been a guest. And so we were developing it. We've caught the rain season lately, so we haven't really did that, and with lighter fluid. But yeah, Golf Locals is still like a development, you know, show and development for us to go and do a little interview and play some golf with people, even if they've never really played before. So.
And it's already in fruition, man, because like I said, we all did a tournament already. It was like almost 30, 40 deep, I think, out there.
Hey, it was fun.
Prizes and the cash prize and everything, right? Yeah, that was dope. Shout out to that Golf Locals thing you got going on.
Golf Locals, see?
You're the founder, you know, of the rap collective East of the River. Brilliant name, but actually quite simple. How did that come about, bro?
I mean, it's so crazy because it almost seems like a commonplace thing at the time.
Very much so.
And one of my homeboys who I first started rapping with, his name was Jay. I used to call him El Jizzo. It's funny, this is the second time I mentioned him this week, so shouts out to Jizzo wherever you're at. He used to say that in the bars too. Like, he had a rap where he said like, something east of the river. And I remember in that rap that he had, I just loved it. I was like, man, like, that's a bar, you know, like. And from there I took it and I was like, that's what I'm gonna call my production company. Because I went to LA recording school in 2011, and they're like, hey, start a LLC, start a company, you know. That was like the point, like a little project. Like, just do it, you have to do stuff professional and this and that. So like, what would you call your company, you know? Mescal, what would you call it? And I'm like, East of the River Productions. And then I ran with it there. And those were like the early iterations of like it being what it is today. But when I first started using it, it was almost like just commonplace. Like, yeah, on the east of the river, east side of the river. It was always east side, actually. I probably just took out that side. That made it probably flow a little better, you know? It was always east side of the river, east side of the river, you know? So, yeah, man, it's a trip.
Yo, that's a sick name. It's very catchy, easy to remember. And then the way y'all do some of y'all's merchandise, the way the river goes through the letters, yo, that's kind of sick. Yo, look at his merch. Come on, check out his merch. So let's kind of keep hovering around east of the river. Man, y'all are a self-containing unit. You produce your own merch. Y'all do podcasting. You record out of your studio. So what is East of the River trying to accomplish within this hip hop community out here?
I guess just, man, I mean, I feel like we're accomplishing a lot of it just by being what we're doing, you know, like, but not in a sense to be like if mission is already accomplished or we're done. I just mean sometimes it's like just grinding, just doing it, doing the action and being there front and center and an example for the next generation, for people who may doubt it or may not want to look on the east side for hip hop or for rap or for this, like, and it's about like owning it right now in the scene and owning our story and telling it the way we want and giving it the shine it deserves, you know? You know, I think there's a voice that needs to be heard, and again, amplify it, put a mic to it, and shine a light to it, and then see what happens, you know? Like, we haven't even tried that. We're the first, not the first, but we've casted a nice bright one, but it's like, okay, we gotta even push it past that, and there's so much more talent around, so it's like, yeah, man, we're just trying to be that. We'll see where it all eventually leads. You know, I see festivals, I see films, I see, you know, a renaissance, you know, just not just from us and the hip hop side, but from it all, like filmmaking, from fashion, and you see it right now, like how much our culture is being imitated and looked at, and then essentially a lot of what is looked at, it all starts and rooted in Boyle Heights and in East LA. So it's like, we don't do it, someone else will, so, you know, we gotta own it. We gotta own it, and for us, we've put in the 10 years, 12 years, that like, you know, we can't be afraid to just be like, nah, this is our time, like it's our senior year. We're not gonna let this pass, you know, let this moment pass, like, so, you know, hopefully by the time we're done with it, that question is answered. We know exactly what we were. Because when we were not popping, like when we were popping, but like when we got on paid dues and stuff like that, we would hear the whispers, oh, you guys are the Mexican Wu-Tang, you're you're this. And all these like, and it fills up the head and you almost feel good and all that. But it's like, you ain't done shit yet. Like you haven't, we still have to write our story to get to that where people can then say, nah, that's east of the river, you know, and that's ultimately what we'll end up, you know.
I like the way you made that connection with the paid dues and stuff. I've seen some of your videos, how you make a mention lyrically, you talk about the paid dues situation and stuff like that.
Right.
Many of your lyrics in your videos, colorful, well shot, and laced with a lot of Mexican symbolism. How important is it for you as an independent artist and an MC to, you know, have that heritage out in your videos and in your music?
I mean, it's my background. Like literally, to walk out my house, it's like that's the canvas, that's the surrounding I was born into, you know what I mean? Like, and to not see it, or to see it but then people ain't really from there, or then my view is maybe not as valid because it's different. It's like, no, you're here, you know, we're here, we're a part of this. But no, it's super important, man. It's just super important just to cast the light on it, you know, like I'm saying. And I'm lucky enough that I could just walk out and it's Mariachi Plaza. Netflix gotta get a permit. Mescal shit in the streets, right there. No one gonna tell me nothing.
I see nothing.
You know what I mean? Like, and I'll flex a little, but like, I'm lucky in that sense that that's my neighborhood, that's my life, you know, and I get to just, you know, be there, be it, and hopefully make them proud, you know. And Boyle Heights is a lot of things, but they definitely won't support something that's not good or not dope. And that's how our culture is. You just gotta be really good. And then you could be different, you could be this, but at the end of the day, that's why I feel like East of the River and myself, like we've stood the test of time, because we've been poked at, we've been looked at, and you know, we've shown out, we've shown it through the skills, through putting ourselves out there and representing for the community, you know, for what it is, you know, for what we are, you know. So
Ooh, nice. He said EOTR. Come on. We're more than halfway. Probably got 3-4 more questions, and we're gonna give it a wrap. For this question, I'm gonna actually read what I wrote because I want to make sure I interpret this correctly. So on your album, the Ballad of El Güero, right? Your latest LP, if I'm not mistaken, you have the track My Love for This. And you say, I'd be lying, G, if I say status doesn't matter. How hard is it to make in the business as a Latin rapper? Right? And that's some serious stuff, bro. Tell us, man, how hard is it? And, you know, if you have some pointers out for those out there, please.
I mean, you know, it's tough. And I think we just got to build within ourselves and like I was saying, like just not be afraid to own it right now. Like we're in the music right now, we're in hip hop, we're making waves, we're being seen like never before, whether it's good, bad, or in between, or how you feel about it. You know, that's what it is. And it's just like we gotta own it, and it's gonna be tough. And with that bar, I just shine that little light right there just to say, you know, all that given, we still got love for this. We still are persevering, even though, you know, I'll be lying if I'm saying status don't matter, meaning I gotta post, I gotta be pushing on IG. Like, I heard a good one today, and it was like someone thinking, oh, Tupac didn't do that, didn't do that. But it's like that was 30 years ago, 40 years ago. To apply that way of thinking, like Tupac wouldn't send a girl a message on a pager in 2023. You know, he's gonna slide in the DM. I don't care, whatever. Like people grow with the times, and to suggest that because this, you know, you can't apply that old way of thinking of now. And I think for a while hip hop was scared of that, and we've grown past that. Or even our OGs know that. Like, bro, get on IG, bro. Come and grind on this. You know what I mean? And like you're gonna make so much more money and just be so much better off and get the flowers you deserve. But this is a part of it. You gotta just do the content, grind with it, tell your story. And it amazes me, the more we tell it, the more we push it, the more people want it. You know, like there's an appetite for it, there's a demand for it. You know, you just gotta, like, again, do it real good, because our people ain't gonna support anything okay. They'll look you in the face and be like, meh. You know, we ruthless like that, bro. You know, like, I don't care. Like, it's so funny, man. Like, but yeah. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for the answer. So, man, I've been following your music, EOTR, for at least 5 years. Seen the musical progression, your business attitude, about how you approach things. How much have you sacrificed to get to this point where you are today, brother?
I mean, dang. I mean, there's not like a dollar amount. I couldn't even add it up, but I know it's past the point where I even feel it anymore. You know, like I can't even tell you, bro. I know, like, for anyone who just needs maybe a vision or something, like all of it, who I was, even my future, certain moments, certain things you miss, family moments, selfish, alone, you know, all that as an artist, all of it to grind, to do hip hop. You know, we can make every excuse we want as far as like our people ain't getting opportunity in this. Like, I'll be right there saying, yeah, you're right, but also it's a rough road, and how many of us are really willing to withstand what everyone else and every other culture has already accepted that they already have to do without crying foul and without doing this? Can we just persevere? And that might be what we have to do to get it, but that's what I've given into, you know? I know that I just never, ever said I'll quit. Never, ever, I don't care if I'm 100 years old. I've never, ever uttered the word like, yeah, I'm not gonna rap tomorrow, I'm just gonna do something else, I'm gonna do that. And I know having that attitude is the one thing that kind of got me here, and the reason too that life went, okay, you know, you willing to do anything? Here's anything. And people, they want it and they go, I'll do anything for it. I felt that feeling before. And that helpless, like, fuck, I want it so bad. And then life goes, okay, you'll do anything, well then climb this mountain, walk barefoot on this glass, or sacrifice your pride, sacrifice your time, give up this, you know, be embarrassed, be the little guy for a while, do this, swallow your pride, you know, like, and people be like, no, can't do it. Well, then you don't want to do anything for what you want, you know, and that's just what it is, and you know, the sacrifice just comes with it, and at this point, you know, I don't even feel it anymore. It's just you just live, you know, we're just living it, we're living it.
Well said, well said. Take heed to those words, viewers, especially if you an MC. Two more, brother. You have a lot of things going on. Lighter Fluid. I heard you're gonna drop some mixtapes coming up in the next couple of videos. Woo woo. Hey, is there anything that you can tell the viewers out that immediately we can go to?
I mean, I just dropped the song this week, you know, Back to the Hotel remix. Shouts out to N Too Deep and the classic cut that is. I think we did it justice. Shouts out to Killer Tech on that one. I wrapped up a full mixtape called The Map. I got like 9 songs on that. I got an EP with Rock'em ready, about 5 songs on that. Got some dope features on that. Got a Gab feature, got a Speak feature. You know, got some dope little surprises on that. And then I'm working on the second mixtape already. Been writing nonstop. So I mean, if you're out there, like, I've taken different approaches in what I've done, and I've always thought I'd put a lot of thought into what I've done. And now I'm just at a point where I'm like, man, I'm ready to just produce a lot of stuff. Like, I just want to pump it out. And every time I've wanted to do that, there's always been something impeding it. And I'm just like, not this time, not this time. I'm too stubborn, I'm too old, I'm too locked in. You're not gonna convince me otherwise. I'm just gonna drop this heat on you. And let it land where it lands, bro. Like, N Too Deep, sue me, bro. I put the remixes on Spotify, dog. Like, you come get it, go ahead. Keep that money. I'm not even tripping. Like, we're gonna push these songs, and I got a whole new approach in a sense where how I want to build my content and work with Muds and work with the studio, and now it's like, man, 2023 is that year, you know, just to push it, bro, and just drop it. So hopefully, if you've been waiting for that, and I know there's people that have been, and even for myself, I'll do so much sometimes that I put music like not in the right space where it needs to be. Like, this is a time where I finally feel like I'm putting music first and doing certain things where I'm like, no, this is important, let me finish this. And so, you know, hopefully if you've been waiting, this will be like, all right, finally, you're getting what you want. Just drop a gang of music for you, gang of videos, and then just keep up these conferences and shows, and you know, got some other stuff in the works too. I gotta keep some stuff to myself, you know, like there's a few other things, you know, but I can't spill it all. Maybe we do a follow-up.
Oh yeah, I like the way that sounds. Come on. Bring the whole ETR crew. Hollow's right off to the side. Bring Hollow, bring Mad Max. He was episode 2. Come on. Anytime, y'all more than welcome to come up into the Temple Tactics. Last question. Everyone that comes through Temple Tactics, I ask this question. What does hip hop mean to you?
You know, I thought about this a bit. I was like, man,
you expect
give the whole, yeah, well, I mean, I watched the episodes, you know, it's my homework. Shouts out, you know, shouts out to Mad Max at 60 East. That was a great interview. I learned a lot about 60 and all that. That was dope. But no, man, I mean, I guess hip hop just, to me, in the rawest form, is just still, you know, the art form, the expression, and the community, you know. Hip hop got me out of my shell. It got me to be better than who I was. We create these monikers and these alter egos. It's like, that's not so-and-so, that's Hollow Visions, that's Mescal. It's so crazy, right? We do it too. We do it to our heroes, right? And I just always loved that. I wanted a piece of that, and that's what brought me in. And at first I was like someone just poking in and didn't care about it. I was just like, you almost just use it. Like, hey, I'm gonna rap, I'm gonna do this, and just use this form. Cool. Then you figure out, oh man, people laid the foundation for this. Oh man, this is a culture, this is a art form. And whether I liked it or not, I learned it. You know? Like, we were talking about Project Blowed and stuff like that. Like, I remember when I heard about Project Blowed, I first started rapping, and I'm like, I'm not that good. Like, straight up, I was like, these fools are fucking good at freestyling. Wow, like, I was like blown away, you know. And certain artists you see, and you're like, whoa. And that excitement, that challenge, that, you know, that quest on it, like it just was what brought me out with hip hop. So I'll always have that love for it, and you know, I'm glad I took that leap, you know, and now I find myself doing this. And like I said, I'm too far gone, bro. I'm just too far gone to ever go back to anything else normal. Like, I'm gonna die doing this, but just be what this is, you know, for what I am to East Los, what I am to the crew, and what I am to my music, and, you know, to the people that listen. You know, I'm gonna do this, and you know, it's a trip. It's a trip. I couldn't tell you, you know, nothing else. Like, we'll see where it all ends up. You know, you gotta watch. You gotta see it.
Yo, thank you. Appreciate you coming through Tempo Tactics. Beautiful way to end that last question, what hip hop means to you. Man, tune into this gentleman. He has a lot of things up and coming. Lighter fluid, golf. We didn't even get into the running club.
Yeah, stay running.
You know what I'm saying? So thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mescal, for coming to episode 7 of Tempo Tactics. We appreciate that, man. All of us here. Stay tuned. Professor Edmonds coming up next, talking about his introduction to hip-hop class. Tempo Tactics. Peace.
Don't miss me when I'm gone. Give me them flowers now, while I can smell them now.
They can't deny my classics. Plus the buzz I created been all organic. Plus my side of the city been sitting hidden for better half of a half century. But now they mention East Los Angeles synonymous with savages in our blood, the original owners of the fucking land you in. So what's eviction? Listen, fuck the system and learn it. I'm knowing anything I set my mind to, I can have that shit. Pumping like some crypto or hydraulics, so hit the switch. Let the old timers reminisce, little homies listen. Wise beyond my years, that's why I can't vibe with none of my peers. Fools be crying on their Twitter, but that ain't grinding any gears. I tower over cowards even taller than the Sears. Building off of Soto, I've been building off of Soto. Kill it with the promo, business savvy, grow it local, then sell it nationwide. Why the hell we wasting time? Just put Mescal up on the mic, it's fucking elevation time. Need a couple more placements and it's celebration time. Still grind like the first day I walked into the lab. Fathered the whole style before I finally became a dad. Still exciting like the first time I ever spit a rap. Had to take a few hours before I finally became a champ. Still grind like it's my first day. Still grind like it's my first day. Don't miss me when I'm gone. Give me them flowers now, while I can smell them now. Some people did me wrong. I kill it with success and a smile. Don't miss me when I'm gone. Give me them flowers now, while I can smell them now. Some people did me wrong. I kill it with success and a smile. Too cold, can't keep that room temp. Kept my word when I could, went above and beyond these fools. I prep for success, humbled by every loss. Toss my head into the ring and bring my passion when I'm called. Disconnected my attention from the socials, from the mention. I appreciate the love, but the buzz is always hectic. Tempted to leave it all, pack my shit and hit the road. Sacrifice so much of my life, I'd be nothing without the flow. All the hate, all the love, all the highs, all the lows. Got my mind on my growth, on my grind, on my goals. I was so, hey bro, you ain't a headliner, then I came back. Sold out my next show. Didn't you know East Los creme de la creme? That's gem after gem, that's win after win. That's power on the page for hours that I slave. So show me love now, fuck the flowers on my grave, fool. Don't miss me when I'm gone. Give me them flowers now, while I can smell them now. Some people did me wrong. I kill it with success and a smile. Don't miss me when I'm gone. Give me them flowers now, while I can smell them now. Some people did me wrong. I kill it with success and a smile.
Welcome back to Tempo Tactics. Thank you for returning for the second half. Just earlier, you were listening or having a conversation. We were having a conversation with Viva Mescal. Now in the studio, we have with us Professor Edmonds out of Cal State Dominguez Hills. Man, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking your time out to talk to Tempo Tactics.
Man, thank you for having me.
Appreciate you, man. So let's just get right into this.
All
I
right.
think we have a lot to cover when it comes to hip hop and academics, man. Mm-hmm. This is an avenue I've been waiting to go down a long time.
Yeah.
So in hip hop, we like to say, let's keep it real. Man, when I look for someone to come up to represent the academics in hip hop, I ran through Cal State Dominguez Hills. I ran into your name teaching an introduction to hip hop class. Can you tell us, who do we have sitting here today in Temple Tactics?
Well, my name is Jason Edmonds, also known as Jasani Fakolade. I am a practitioner of African martial arts, a priest in African spirituality, a professor at the college level, university level, and I'm a hip hop connoisseur, a hip hop practitioner, if you will. And I would also say when I begin my classes, I tell my students sometimes, and I can be considered a hip hop snob. So,
I like
yes.
that. Yo, that's dope. A hip hop snob. Actually, probably the first time I ever heard someone say that. That's really dope. Like that. As you know, hip hop culture is made up of various elements: breaking, MCing, DJing, beatboxing. Which one of those elements drew you into hip hop?
You know, in terms of being drawn into hip hop, it's hard to say because, like, for me, what I tell my students a lot of times, I say that this art form kind of begins with African American culture, Afro-Caribbean culture, Afro-Latino, Latinx culture. And for me, hip hop begins with my parents having parties and waking me up as a kid in the 70s, and they're like, okay, do the funky chicken. And we're like, like doing doing the dance, or do that Michael Jackson move, and literally that was my introduction to it before it was even a quote unquote thing. That was an aspect of it. Also, when I was a child, my mother, she made sure that I memorized poetry from Langston Hughes to James Weldon Johnson, literally as a child. That was one of the things that I did. And so I would perform the poetry of Langston Hughes, James Weldon Johnson, many other artists of the Harlem Renaissance and other time periods, and that opened my mind to poetry. And then of course I'm involved in hip hop, but then the aspects of the Last Poets, the Black poets of Watts, Gil Scott-Heron, Amiri Baraka, Nikki Giovanni, all of that poetry informed my palette, informed my tongue and my thought process in terms of the art form. And that led to me being a break dancer and an MC. I participated in every, the 5 elements I participated. I've been a break dancer, and my thing was popping. The next thing was MCing, and poetry. For me, that was another real lane. Most people in my city would know me as either an MC or a poet. And then DJing, I participated in a little bit of that. I wasn't great, but I used to DJ a bit. And I also used to tag. And sorry, Mom and Dad, I did used to do that. But in terms of that all of those aspects of the art form, I participated in. I'm not saying I was great in all of them, but I have an eye for those things, and I love every aspect of the art form. So those are just some of the tips in terms of my beginnings.
Shout out to your mom for starting you at such a young age, man.
Oh, indeed.
Yeah. We were I attended your class at one point, sat in. Thank you for that. And then after the class, we kind of started talking, and you were giving me a rundown. You told me you teach capoeira. Pronouncing it right? Capoeira or capoeira?
Capoeira.
Okay.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was like, okay. So the question I have for you is that, can you tell our viewers what is capoeira and how does it relate to breakdancing?
So for me, I would say that number one, capoeira is an African Brazilian martial art. The only reason I say African Brazilian is because where people give it the name capoeira is in Brazil. But capoeira it's not, in my opinion, it is not limited to Brazil. It is an African art that you can also see in United States of America with 52 blocks, jailhouse rock, stato. There's even a style out here called kicking and knocking. There's even another style I've heard of called Nat Turner. Here in the United States, these martial art styles, particularly from African people, used as a form of defense to protect themselves against and part of the reason why most of us don't know the names of these arts is because they were hidden quite well. You know what I'm saying? And in terms of that, capoeira, in my opinion, it is an African martial art that is a martial art, a fight, a dance, and a game. So it originates, as we said, in perhaps in Angola, the Congo, and through the transatlantic slave trade, some of the first individuals who really embrace the kidnapping of Africans, because they're circumnavigating the world, is the Portuguese. They're making ships. So they're bringing Africans into Brazil and so on and so forth. So when we look at even the art form of capoeira, the first move that kind of ties the art together, ginga, is named after a great African warrior queen by the name of Nzinga. So in terms of that, how does it relate to breakdancing?
Yes, sir.
The way that I see it is the art form of capoeira is, I would say it is the father. And breakdancing, we know that breakdancing gets all of these elements from so many places, and that's one of the things I love about it, is that the young people who began that process, they're looking at possibly breakdancing, and some of it, honestly, it could even be ancestral. It could even be genetic. Why I say that, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie, there's a documentary about youth in Los Angeles called Rise. And in this,
the dance,
the crumping,
yes,
crumping and all of that, there's a moment where they're dancing and they're splicing in between scenes, and they're the youth dancing perhaps in some area in Watts, and then they're showing literally an African dance ritual, and then they're snap back to Watts or wherever, and these youth were doing this dance, and then they snap to an African dance ritual, and then all of a sudden the young girl in the film gets possessed. She's out. And then the young people in a crescendo, they said, that's what we've been waiting for. She just got struck. And the thing about it is, how did these young kids in Watts even know that their bodies move this way? How did they even know that that moving that way would do that to them, that would take them to a place? And when we look at capoeira and we look at breakdancing, I am certain that some of these young people, they just had some of these movements as warriors, as young warriors coming out of the situation of the Bronx during the 1970s, coming out of the gang culture. And it can be a thing of that. It can also be watching various styles. At that moment in time, there is a style that was quite prevalent in New York, called 52 blocks or jailhouse rock. That was quite prevalent of a fighting style amongst many of the members of perhaps the Javelins, Black Spades. That was an art form that they did. And instead of using the art as a fighting and or defense style, some people might have interpreted it as, man, that's a cool dance look. Because you know that the initial style of breakdancing, most breakdancers never touched the ground early on. They were like up rocking and top rocking. And it was more, James Brown type smooth stuff, or bomba y plena style. Yeah, it was like that. So I think that it was definitely something that could have been genetic, could have been something that was borrowed because of individuals looking at it. And, you know, when we see breakdancing and capoeira, a lot of times breakdance moves look like capoeira, but it doesn't have the mindset of capoeira behind it, you know, in terms of when I do what we call a chair freeze or bananeira. In capoeira, we call it bananeira, bananinha. In capoeira, in breakdancing, they might say, oh, I did a chair freeze, or I did this kind of freeze, or what have you. These are old school movements. The breakdancer is doing the move, but the capoeirista is doing oh, sorry. Okay, it did a movement. Is doing
how much time we're going.
Oh, did a movement for defense. All right, and fighting.
Got you. Yo, man, I love I can see the passion in you when you speak this, and I can imagine you in class. I mean, I sat on your class, but I can imagine you going down that hole with them, man. Yo, dope. I love this. That's why I wanted you up here, because I knew you would bring this, you know, this historical connection to it. Let's go to your introduction in hip hop class. At the beginning of the semester, professors hand out syllabuses, right? What does your syllabus look like? What are you teaching to the students about hip hop?
My thought is I like to begin with a historical perspective and a historical context. I use books. My main text is Jeff Chang's Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and I also use another book that is out of print right now. It's called Hiphop, and I think it's Hiphop, an Illustrated Guide, and it is by Stephen Hager. And Stephen Hager has some interesting videos now. If you look on YouTube, he's got like a whole set of videos of New York during the 1970s, New York during the 1980s, yeah. And he has like an interview, I think, with Grandmaster Caz, and Caz is going down like the history and what was happening at that very moment in time, and how it relates to what's going on today. It was really interesting. So Steve Hager, I think he was like a journalist. I think he was also someone who was interviewed when the film Beat Street was done. But so my thought is, I start with history, and then from there we branch out into a process where we're analyzing what we're doing today versus what happened in the past.
Got you. Sticking to that real quick, you did mention your required book, but tell those viewers out there, what is your required reading for that class? Those two books, shout them back out again.
The books that I'm using, I use this book, the Jeff Chang Can't Stop, Won't Stop book, and Stephen Hager. That book is probably out of print right now because it was hell trying to get it back. I got it back in the days, and then man, I don't even remember how we found it, but I remember how I found it. I remember as a kid, I would go to the library in San Diego, and I would always get that book because it had like a pictorial history of, for example, all the styles that Phase 2 innovated. So it starts with bubble letters. It has like at least 10, 15 different styles. And that was one thing that attracted me. Then at the end, they have these illustrations of how hip hop looked, a person who was into the culture, how they looked during the 70s, then the 80s. And that's as far as that book goes. But it goes until the 80s.
But that's good, man. The dates you started with from the early 70s that he's starting to document there. Wow, that's really going back to the beginnings of hip hop, you know? So dope. I won't be looking for that book.
Yeah. If you need it, I can slide you a PDF.
Come on, do that. PDF. I'll take that. This one I'm picking up because to me this is a very important question, and I think some of the viewers out there are interested about this question. So at the university level, academics is structured with English, mathematics, even the sciences. So an introduction to hip hop class isn't your typical class at the university level. So can you tell us, how does hip hop become an official credited or a legitimate class in the academic world? How do you present that to the university, bro? Like, I want to teach.
My thought process is this: we are literally a generation that was raised on the culture. Like, if you think about it, there are policemen who grew up on F the Police. There are policemen and congressmen. Raz Baraka in Newark, New Jersey, the son of Amiri Baraka. He's the mayor of Newark.
First hip hop mayor. People are shouting.
Literally.
Yeah. Yep.
We have. It's literally a generation that was raised on this music and on this culture. So it is only befitting that we would present it on a university level to talk to young people and the community to even say, this is legitimate. This is something that we need to analyze the same way you analyze, for example, in art classes, they're analyzing Keith Haring. They're analyzing Jean-Michel Basquiat. Jean-Michel is an individual who comes out of this culture. So why not analyze the whole of that culture? And my other thought process is, these are things that I presented because I started teaching this class. I didn't start teaching Introduction to Hip Hop at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I started teaching it in probably about 2008, 2009 at San Diego State University.
So you had this unlocked this long, this class?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, that I think at San Diego State University, that was definitely the first Introduction to Hip Hop class taught there. So I was the first one to teach it at San Diego State University.
Oh, dude, this is why I wanted you here. Let's stick to the academics. As an academician, that's pronounced correctly, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. You've at least read 30 plus books on hip hop, rap music, hip hop culture. As far as those books are concerned, what can you recommend to our viewers out there that want to learn about this culture and want to know what hip hop's about?
That's a great question. And it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking of so many books.
Right.
Like, there was a book, there was a book years ago. I think it was by Charlie Ahern. It was called Subway Art.
Oh, the dude that did
did Wild Style.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. I think that was him.
Okay.
So that book was literally a pictorial book where they're showing all these pieces, and that had to be in the 80s or early 90s. That was a interesting book when you look at it from a artistic perspective, from a visual art perspective. Right now, I like the Chang book and I like Stephen Hager book. I also use another book called Everything But the Burden by Greg Tate, rest in peace. And this is a book that was edited by him, but he also analyzes the other aspects of hip hop culture in the sense of it being commodified, like an art form that has basically been purchased and bought and sold and taken and used by, how the process of how African American people, Afro-Latino, Latinx people, how black and brown folks become fetish objects. That's the essence of this book. And hip hop is infused in that. And so those are the books that I'm using right now. Except for Subway Art, I'm trying to think of some other books. But those are some that I really like. Also like this one, Hip Hop America, right. And there's another one I'm thinking of. But those are my main ones that I'm really into right now.
All right, Temple Tactics, you heard it. You want to know about that history of hip hop? Straight from a professor. Come on. I mean, where else can we get this information from? Come on. Couple of more questions, brother, and then we're gonna, end this. But man, he just been cracking my skull this whole thing.
Oh man, it's all good.
What does hip hop mean to you as a teachable subject?
as a teachable subject, hip hop
You might have touched on this
is,
a little bit just a while ago.
yeah. I mean, but for me, like I was saying, it is the culture that has, like, literally, we had Barack Obama, and even, I'm gonna say, God forbid, Donald Trump as president. And Donald Trump, he was influenced by pop culture. I'm not saying he shared love with the urban community, but I'm not advocating for him, but I'm just saying, like, all of this is like, that's the other side of hip hop is that, being elected, you know? So we're living in a culture that has completely been influenced by it. Also, I will say, for me, the person that I am, who I am today, every avenue that I have made, every kind of choice I've made up to this point, has been influenced and informed by hip hop. Quite literally, my process of, I want to practice African martial arts. Why did I do that? Well, I learned from KRS-One. KRS-One said, you're African, you're human. KRS-One said, like, quite literally, I remember me and my friends back in the days when we first started practicing vegetarianism. We were practicing vegetarianism, and our parents were like, why are you vegetarian? It's hip hop.
Hip hop made me do it.
Yeah. What? And because of that, like, KRS-One, Poor Righteous Teachers, Big Daddy Kane, like, everybody of a specific era, it was encouraging me to be about knowledge of self, to find out who I am. And also, I grew up during a time where, Crips and Bloods were that was really the avenues that I had was like, all right, are you gonna be into sports? Are you gonna be from the hood? Or are you gonna be like, hip hop, And so in that regard, in many ways, hip hop has saved my life, because I made a different choice. I could have been, part of the gang, like I literally could have, been from the hood, but, I was like, man, that isn't for me. And, my parents raised me differently, and hip hop had all these wonderful choices, wonderful avenues of being able to express myself. So that enabled me to, that in my opinion, is something that gives this art such legitimacy. And even beyond the artistic aspect, we can go into musical science with, with Joseph Sadler, Grandmaster Flash's quick mix theory. We can do a whole class on that,
right?
Because that is influencing what beats we sample, what beats we make. There's so much stuff we can get into with, ethnomusicology, poetry, art, dance. Like, we can take the aspects of this beautiful culture and you can make each of them into a totally unrelated even study or science of. Mm-hmm. So it's time. It's time. It's been time.
Yeah. Man, yo, y'all hearing that? Hey, you people out there, professors at other universities, you need to hire this man. This man knows what he's talking about when it comes to the hip hop. You need someone that's authentic, someone, as he said, he's been involved with it. He was a B-boy, he was taggy. Because a lot of our practitioners, a lot of people that write books, if I may, they weren't practitioners of they were outside looking in. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was saying that. Here we are, have someone that was doing it from day one, and now you're teaching it. So who better to teach or write a book about that? Yeah. Right here, Professor Edmonds, Cal State Dominguez Hills, Introduction to Hip Hop. Come on. One more last question, brother. I ask this question to everyone that rolls through the temple. What does hip hop mean to you?
I say hip hop to me is the expression of life. It is a way of life. It is the thing that helped me to connect even better with my parents. When I take hip hop within the context of Black expression in America, from the Harlem Renaissance to the Black arts movement, to the aspect of looking at myself from a different perspective, in the sense of making choices to go this way or to go that way. Hip hop gave me options of expression of who I wanted to be outside of a negative world that perhaps at times shunned me or shunned people like me. Hip hop gave me the opportunity to be something different and great and legitimate to myself. You know, hip hop gave me the opportunity to love me. So that's what I would say on a very personal level. You know, like, I'm sure people say so many different things.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, but hip hop has been the inroad to my culture, to investigating actually who I am and what's in my DNA. Hip hop has been that thing. If it wasn't for hip hop, I wouldn't be a priest in African spirituality. I would not have ever reached into capoeira. I would never have become a quote unquote, you know, I mean, I'm a professor at the university and have these degrees in different things, but if it wasn't for making certain choices associated with hip hop, I would never have been there.
True that. Very true. Very true. Beautifully said, man. And now I just want to go back to something real quick, and then, you know, it'll be for you to wrap up, because yeah, you had me with that one. How your mom was tripping out how y'all were practicing vegetarian because of KRS-One. When I ran into Chris too, or KRS-One, he made me want to do what you did, become a vegetarian. I went for 2 years trying to become a vegetarian, but yo, that's what hip hop does to us.
Yes.
It infests us like that you want to make those better changes. And I never thought I'd be a vegetarian. Coming from Texas, we love barbecue.
Yeah, yeah.
So nonetheless, I just wanted to share that with you, because man, I was straight relation with that one.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So lastly, man, is there anything you want to say out to our Temple Tactic viewers, maybe to your students that might be watching this, or whatever, man? Just,
you know,
last words.
Oh, thank you. You know, I think for me, we talk about this from such a cultural perspective, intellectual, academic aspect, but I want, and this is something that I think that the art form, at least on a commercial level, has lost, is the ability to help us investigate ourselves. The ability to help us to truly express ourselves and analyze deep parts of ourselves. When I was part of a group in San Diego called the Masters of the Universe crew, you know, and in that crew, I remember one of my good friends, Orko, and Eclipse. Eclipse, years ago, he said, you know, what this art has done for us is it's helped us to become men. It's helped us to become better men. And the art form as a vehicle for rites of passage, self-expression, self-investigation, these are things that I want us to investigate deeper, because it's, you know, it's beautiful, all this other stuff, but the other thing is, like, at the end of the day is like, how is this affecting you? How is it supporting you and helping you to be okay with the challenges that you're experiencing in the world, at home, in society? How is hip hop doing that? Not even that, but art, expression. How we need to get back to that aspect of where it challenges us to think deeper about who we are as humans.
Ooh, words of wisdom. Words of wisdom, man. Professor Edmonds, thank you for coming today to Temple Tactics, wrapping up episode 7 for us, man. I was so geeked the first time I landed you with this. I was like, yo, I'm going academics and hip hop. That's the word right there. So once again, thank you. Really appreciate you taking out your time, man.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. So thank you Temple Tactics. We just wrapped up episode 7 with Professor Edmonds. And stay tuned. Coming next month, episode 8, Temple Tactics. Peace.